Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something that, let's be honest, can feel pretty daunting. Mastering English for job interviews.
Mm,
We all know that feeling, right? The nerves kicking in, especially if English isn't your first language. But the good news is we're here to help.
yeah, we really are.
We want to give you some solid strategies, some practical tools, to help you turn that challenge into, well, a real confidence booster.
Absolutely. And by the end of this, you won't just have like a list of phrases. You get the why behind them.
Right.
We're going to unlock some powerful expressions, talk about what hiring managers are actually listening for, and even cover those little communication cues. Think of this as your shortcut to feeling comfortable and, yeah, shining in those interviews.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. That first impression, it sounds basic, but those first, 30 seconds, they can really set the tone for everything that follows. It's huge, isn't it?
Oh, it's paramount. And what's interesting is how you need to be deliberate but still sound natural.
Yeah, not robotic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So standard greetings like, good morning, it's a pleasure to meet you, they're a great start, totally fine.
Okay.
But maybe add something like, thank you for having me, or even, I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Ah, I like that last one.
Yeah, because they still convey politeness,
Yeah.
professionalism, sure.
Yeah.
But those last two add this layer of proactive engagement.
Okay, so it shows you're actually eager to be there.
Right. It subtly says you're invested, you're ready for a proper discussion. It shifts the dynamic,
Yeah,
from just being an interviewee to being an active participant.
that's a great point. Shifting the dynamic. It makes it feel less like a test and more like a real conversation right from the start.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can picture how that might sound. Like, good morning. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Good morning. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Oh, my pleasure. I've actually been really looking forward to our chat.
See, just like that. It feels professional, sure, but also warm, inviting. It just sets a positive vibe before you even get into the tough questions. It's those little things.
Definitely. Okay, so you've nailed the greeting, set a good tone. Then comes often the big one. Tell me about yourself. So simple, but it can feel like a trap.
It can feel huge, yeah. But it's your chance to really frame your story, not just list things from your CV.
Right.
We usually suggest a pretty clear three-part structure.
Yeah.
It just helps keep you focused.
Okay, what is it?
First, your name and just a quick professional background. Second, touch on your relevant experience and maybe your key strengths, what makes you tick.
Mm-hmm.
And third, really important, why you're interested in this specific role at this company. Let's use an example, say Usman.
Okay.
He might say something like, hi, my name is Usman. I've got about 5 years in digital marketing, worked on campaigns for startups and bigger international brands. I really specialize in performance ads, data-driven stuff, and I'm looking for a role now where I can bring those skills to a dynamic place like yours.
That sounds good. Clear, concise.
Yeah, and you can even add a little something specific, like I was particularly drawn to your recent work in X.
Ah, tailoring it. Nice touch. Shows you've done your research.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the main advice is keep it brief, keep it clear, and say it confidently. Practice it, but don't just memorize it. You want it to sound like you.
Yeah, internalize it so it feels natural. What about for non-native speakers? Any specific tips there for clarity? Sometimes complex ideas can be tricky.
That's a really good point. I'd say, first off, don't feel rushed. It's okay to speak a bit more slowly, more deliberately.
Okay.
Focus on clear pronunciation, especially for key industry terms. And honestly, using slightly simpler sentences is absolutely fine if it means your message lands clearly. Precision over complexity.
Right.
And if you do have international experience, weave that in. Frame it as a strength adaptability, cross-cultural understanding is a huge asset.
Good advice. Okay, so let's broaden out from the self-intro. What about other common questions? We want listeners to feel ready to handle these like pros.
Definitely. This is where you connect your skills directly to what the company needs. Take what are your strengths.
Yeah, the classic.
Don't just say, I'm a good communicator. Be specific. Maybe, well, one of my key strengths is creative problem solving, especially when things get tight. For example, in my last job, we had a sudden budget cut.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I redesigned our main campaign. We didn't just keep engagement steady, we actually boosted it by 40%. See, the number makes it concrete.
That 40% makes a huge difference. It's proof.
Okay.
Okay, what about the flip side? The dreaded what's your biggest weakness question. Feels like walking a tightrope.
It does.
Yeah.
But think of it as a chance to show you've grown. Don't confess a current major flaw for the role.
Right.
Instead, maybe frame a past weakness that you've worked on. Like, well, earlier in my career, I sometimes got maybe too focused on perfecting every single detail, which could occasionally slow things down.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned over time how to balance that attention to detail with, the need for speed and hitting deadlines effectively. It's about finding that right balance between quality and efficiency. It shows you're self-aware and you improve.
That's smart. It turns a negative into a positive progression. And be mindful of cultural context too, right? Admitting weakness lands differently everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Adapt your approach based on the company culture if you can gauge it. Crucial point.
Okay, and the big finale question, why should we hire you? Your final pitch.
Yeah, this is where you tie it all together.
Yeah.
Bring your value proposition right to their doorstep. Don't just talk about yourself.
So how?
Maybe something like, well, based on the job description and our conversation, it seems you need someone who mentions specific need. I bring a proven track record in exactly that area, like my brief example, combined with real energy and a passion for their industry mission.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also adaptable and genuinely excited about the chance to contribute to mention a specific company goal or project.
Wow, okay. So you're directly linking your skills to their needs and showing you know what they're working on.
Precisely. It shows you're not just looking for any job, you're interested in this job, this company.
And the common thread through all these answers, it seems, is examples. Concrete examples. Stories stick, right?
Absolutely. Stories are memorable, facts and figures are good, but stories connect. Which actually leads us nicely to the STAR method.
Ah, yes, STAR. Heard of it? It's a way to structure those examples, right? Especially for those behavioral questions like, tell me about a time when...
Exactly. It's a lifesaver for organizing your thoughts under pressure. It just gives you a clear framework.
Okay, let's break it down. STAR. What does each letter mean?
Right. So S is for situation. Briefly describe the context, what was going on.
Okay, set the scene.
T is for task. What was your specific responsibility or goal in that situation? What needed doing?
Your job. Got it.
A is for action. This is the core. What specific steps did you take? Focus on your action.
What you actually did.
And R is for result. What was the outcome? What did you achieve? And if you can, quantify it. Use those numbers again.
Right. Situation, task, action, result. Can you give us a quick example?
Sure. Instead of saying, I handle pressure well, use STAR. Well, there was this time. We had a super tight deadline for a new product launch, and a key designer quit unexpectedly.
Ouch. Okay. Situation.
My task was to make sure we still launched on time, even with fewer people.
Task. Makes sense.
So I reorganized the workflow, started daily check-ins to keep everyone aligned, and actually jumped in to handle some critical design tasks myself.
Action. You stepped up.
And the result was we actually launched 2 days ahead of schedule, and the product pulled in 15% more signups than we'd projected in the first week.
Wow. That's so much better than just, I handle pressure well. It's a mini story with impact.
Exactly. It makes your answer clear, logical, memorable. And for non-native speakers, it's a fantastic tool. It structures your thinking so you hit all the key points without getting lost.
Yeah, it takes some of the mental load off. Great tip. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what to say, but how you say it, that matters too, right? Body language, tone of voice.
Immensely. These nonverbal cues speak volumes, often subconsciously.
So what should people focus on? Any quick wins here? Especially considering, different cultural norms too.
Definitely. Some basics. Sit up straight sounds simple, but it projects confidence. Maintain eye contact, but keep it natural and friendly, not like a staring contest. Remember, norms differ, so aim for engaged, not intense.
Okay. Natural eye contact.
A genuine smile when appropriate. And your voice speak clearly, and maybe a touch slower than you might normally, especially if you're nervous or if it's not your first language. Manage your intonation, too. Try to avoid sounding monotone.
Right, clarity is key.
And don't fear the pause.
Ah, yes. You mentioned this before. Taking a brief pause to think isn't weakness, is it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It shows you're thoughtful, you're considering the question properly. It can actually project more confidence than rushing into an answer. For language processing, it's a perfectly valid strategy.
That's really good to know. Okay, so we've covered answering questions, but interviews aren't just a one-way street, are they? You're interviewing them too.
You absolutely are. And asking questions at the end is crucial. It shows you're engaged and seriously considering the role. The interview isn't really done until you've asked your questions.
What are some good examples? Not just, when do I hear back? Although that's important too.
Right. Go deeper. Ask things like, what does success look like in this role over the first, say, 6 months?
Oh, I like that. Shows you're thinking about performance.
Exactly. Or, could you tell me a bit more about the team culture? How do people typically collaborate? That shows you care about fit,
Mm-hmm. Betul.
And yes, definitely ask, what are the next steps in the interview process? It shows continued interest and manages expectations.
Asking those questions really leaves a strong final impression, doesn't it? Shows you're serious, you're thinking long term, and you're evaluating them too.
Precisely. It's a powerful way to end the conversation on your terms, and it gives you valuable information.
Okay, great stuff. Now it's time for our word of the day. And today's word feels very fitting. Articulate.
Ah, yes. Articulate. It means being able to express your thoughts and ideas clearly, fluently, and effectively.
So basically everything we've been talking about.
Pretty much. Like you might say, she gave a very articulate presentation, or he's known for being an articulate speaker. It's about clarity and coherence in communication.
Yeah.
Fantastic skill to cultivate.
Absolutely. Which leads us perfectly into our challenge of the day for you, our listener.
Let's hear it.
Okay, challenge time. Take everything we've discussed, especially that three-part structure, and write out and practice your own self-introduction. Really tailor it to a job you'd genuinely be interested in.
Ooh, I love that challenge. And some advice on doing it. Record yourself. Use your phone, voice memo, whatever.
Yeah, why recording?
Because listening back is incredibly revealing. You'll hear your pace, your clarity, any filler words you overuse. You can hear if it sounds natural or, memorized. Then you can refine it.
Makes sense. Listen, tweak, repeat.
Exactly. Repetition builds that true confidence. The more you practice, the more it becomes second nature, even when the pressure's on.
Excellent advice. Well, that pretty much wraps up our deep dive for today. The main takeaway, job interviews. Try to think of them as conversations, opportunities to connect, share your story, show your value, not terrifying interrogations.
Exactly. And the more you practice these techniques, the more natural and confident you'll sound. English is this incredible tool you have, and hopefully after this, it feels a little sharper, a little more ready to help you grab that next opportunity.
Definitely. So as you go about your week, thinking about your own career, your own experiences, here's something to mull over. What specific part of your journey, maybe even a challenge you faced, perhaps related to language or culture, could you shape into your next really compelling interview story using something like the STAR method?